In the last video, I showed you how you can get quickly up and running with the XBRL US API using the Excel template that we have created. I also said in that video that in the next one, I would have a look at some of the other things that we put into this sheet. So you may remember this query, which was the main thing that we showed you, but I also mentioned that I created some other queries which are of the single series variety. And this was really the motivation for me putting this template together in the first place. We've often had queries from customers who've been interested in just being able to bring down one piece of XBRL data. With XBRL to Excel, what we do is we bring the whole lot down and then enable you through Excel to filter the pieces of information you want. It's working on the basis, obviously, that there's probably a lot of data you want to use, a lot of ratios and data analysis you want to do. But sometimes people want to be able to just, bring down a single piece, do a quick piece of analysis, maybe create a time series, draw a little graph, that kind of stuff. And so I thought that the Excel US API would be the perfect tool for that. So that's where I was trying to get to, and as you can see, that's where we've ended up. So yeah, these are single series as opposed to the other query where you can bring down multiple amounts of data, and obviously you can expand this according to the company's items you set. Here, the idea is it's a little bit more compact, so that you can do those more precise queries. So just actually like the other query, you still have three inputs. You've got the item, you've got the company you're going to look at, and the years. So in fact, it is identical in that sense in terms of the inputs. Again, you've got three inputs there with a single series. And as you can probably gather, if it's got a color, that means it's an input field. And you might think these are cells because they do look just like cells, but in fact they are very small tables consisting of one cell. As I may have mentioned, or I certainly will mention probably quite a few more times, is that in order for Power Queries to work dynamically, you need to provide those dynamic inputs as tables. It's the only way that they will work. So that's the reason why they're not just cells, they happen to be tables as well. So let's get one of these queries up and running. Maybe we want to have a look at a longer range of data. Maybe we want to build out a bigger time series. So let's use the wonderful fill function in Excel to show more years. So let's take it all the way back, maybe 10 years. I think that will do the trick. And the fill function has done precisely that for us. And maybe we want to look at a different company. How about IBM, as I can always remember the ticker for IBM. And also, let's change the data item. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, how do I specify which item I want? Well, it's all about tags. That's what the XBRL.US API works off. It works off tags, and obviously that's very much the heart of what XBRL is. It's basically tagged accounting data so that you can compare one item against another. And you can go and have a look at all 16,000 of those tags on the FASB website, or you can try and look them up in a taxonomy on the web, or you can use the handy list that we have created over here, which we call the X Financials. And the idea is that this is a comprehensive and coherent set of tags that captures all the subtotals that you're most likely to want to have a look at, plus any adjustments that you might want to make to those subtotals in order to create normalized values, ones that you can compare against another company, or indeed have a look at going through history for the same company. So the idea is that every tag that you're most likely to want is in this set. So you just need to come here and choose one. So very simply, we could choose any of these, but maybe goodwill is a very good choice because it's always useful to have a look at, see how much goodwill they are carrying on their books. So yeah, let's just copy that and transfer that to where we are putting our tag input in, and once we've done that, we can then just run the query. So yeah, all we need to do is right click and choose refresh, or we can alt F5 and it will go through and bring back all those values. So yeah, that's how that query works. As you can see, we've got two similar queries down here, and basically we've just messed around with the axes so that you can put different values on the axes in order to show the data in a slightly different way. Now, obviously, these queries are very specific. We have made some decisions about what data we're going to pull back from the API. And indeed, the single series is a query that builds up on top of the multi-series query that you see here. And as I think explained in the last video, what we've done here is built a series of queries, series of functions that you can use as building blocks in order to build other functions or queries. So you can get more and more specific. And at the heart of that, obviously, is a call to the XBRL US API. And to give you a better idea of what it's doing, and also for you to be able to mess around more directly with the API, we've created this tab here, which basically breaks down the query that you're actually making to the API into two bits. First of all, there's what you're actually searching for, and then the second part of the query has a look at the values that you may want returned. So in reality, this is all just one query, but I think it's useful to have a look at it in terms of these two sort of separate bits, what you're searching for and then what you actually want to bring back. So we've split it out, and as you can see, these fields are bluish, I think, and that's because, yet again, they represent tables. They are tables of one cell in size, but they then become inputs for this particular query. So it enables you to specify one part of that query, which is the values you're going to search for, and the second part, the values you're going to bring back. So as you can see, it's a very, very simple query here, and it's just bringing back assets for Microsoft. So if we look in detail at the query itself, we can see how it's working. For example, how does it know to bring back Microsoft? Well, what it's doing is it's searching for the entity ID called 6930. And you might be going, well, we didn't use any entity IDs when we were searching in this single series query. How does that all work? Well, what's going on here, and probably will specify that we're talking about this query, in fact, as a single series is built on top of it, is that this query it basically uses a series of different functions that we built, these other building blocks, in order to be able to do its work. So one of those queries is basically to take a ticker and to find out what that ID is. So yeah, at the heart of it, it then goes away and uses that particular ID in order to bring back the value. So there's quite a lot going on underneath, and this tab enables you to look more specifically about what's going on here. So so that's how it brings back Microsoft. And then in terms of yeah, obviously you can also see that it's bringing back the tag assets, or on the wrong field. Here you can see there is assets, and also the field. So if we make a couple of changes to that, we'll see it actually at work. So for example, maybe we want to bring back a different fiscal year. Maybe we want to bring back 2017, and maybe we want to bring back different piece of information related to the entity, not the CIK, maybe actually the ID that we were looking at before. So let's put that in, and as always, if we Alt F5, it will go away and run that query. As you can see, it's now brought back the ID, and we're looking at a different year's value. So yes, it's a series of fields that you specify within that API query to bring back precisely the information you want. And we try to make this as easy as possible, rather than you having to figure out how you create all of this in Power Query. We've just exposed these two parts of the query so you can run your own without having to worry about sort of building the infrastructure around that to actually see the values in Excel. But there's no reason why you can't go away and build your own queries and functions based on this. All of the let's have a look, shall we? All of the queries as you can see, are available over here. So it's very easy to be able to sort of go in and have a look. So if we have a look at the query, which lies at the heart of what's going on, when we go into the advanced editor, you will see the guts of it. And this is all written in a language called Power Query M, and I think the M stands for mashup, with the idea that that's what Power Query is all about, bringing in a whole set of disparate data sources and mashing them all up into tables that are of value to you. So it's yeah, it might seem a little bit scary, and it is a kind of unusual language. It takes a little bit of head scratching to get around it and work out what on earth is going on. But you may be able to see here some stuff which is familiar. This is the API query that's actually it uses. So some of this looks like what we just saw in that cell. Yeah, this is the bits that deals with the access token, and this is the bit which calls another function, which is the one that basically works out what the ID is based on the ticker. We'll go into more detail about how that all fits together in another video, but I just thought it would be useful to show you what's sort of going on underneath the hood, as it were. So let's just come out of that and come right out of that. Yeah, so as I said, in another video, we'll go into more detail about the various different components that we created and how you can use those building blocks to build your own specific queries, because, yeah, you probably don't want necessarily to have your queries running like this. You may want different fields to show up. This is very much an example from which you can build out to show other stuff. Yeah, there's also, we've got a little tab over here that you may have looked at or may not have looked at, and yeah, this is utilizing some new functionality from Microsoft that I've been playing around with recently. And again, in the next video, we'll have a look at what that can and can't do as well. And then I think that pretty much wraps it up. So yeah, join us for the next video once we've got that together.